Good morning, everybody. It's 11:30 on a Thursday, and it's time for our Q&A call. We're going to be discussing Impala today, but before we do that, um, I wanted to invite all of you guys that attend here to a webinar that's taking place tomorrow. We're going to be talking to one of the fund managers who manages the SA Equity Fund, the unit trust portfolio with PSG Asset Management. And I think you guys may find it interesting in that we will be discussing their philosophy around picking stocks for the portfolio and so on, and it may help you with managing your own portfolio. So I've posted the link in the chat, and I'll post it further down as well as we progress through the meeting. But I just wanted to say that if you want to register for that webinar tomorrow, I think it'll be an interesting chat. It's going to be about unit trusts, but specifically about an equity fund and how to pick equities. But for now, we're going to be talking to Matt. We're privileged to have Matt with us. He's analyzed Impala for us, and we're going to be having a chat about that. Thank you very much, Matt. Straight over to you.
Thanks, Cyril, and thanks everyone for joining this Q&A call. Today we'll be chatting about Implats, the latest results, but we're also going to discuss what's been going on in the PGM market, and we're going to share our positive outlook on it. There's been a lot of attention on gold recently, since it's touching all-time highs frequently, and over the same time, some of the platinum group metals have started ticking up, and it's almost gone unnoticed. But Implats has responded very well to that. They're up about 35% month to date as of today. So with the results, the production was 13% higher, 3.65 million ounces, and that increase was basically because of the maiden consolidation of Impala Bafokeng. On a like-for-like basis, it was down 1%, so basically flat. But revenue was down 19% to 86 billion rand, and that was mostly because of the lower PGM prices, even though they had higher sales and a weaker rand. So the PGMs declined, and the basket price was down 34% to $1,350 an ounce. Cost of sales was only slightly down, but the gross profit was down about 76% to 5.5 billion, and the EBITDA was down 66%, with the margins declining from 34% to 14%. The big line item in this set of results was the impairments of just under 22 billion rand, and the majority of that was at Impala Rustenburg, and mainly reflects the lower PGM pricing. So this was a big contributor to the loss that was posted by Implats. So the total loss of 17.3 billion rand for the year, and headline earnings, which excludes that, was down 88% to 2.4 billion rand. The cash flows, operating cash flows, was down 71% to 6.9 billion rand. And then I always like to end off with the comments on the balance sheet, and that's looking quite strong. They've got a net cash position of about 6.3 billion rand. For the period, they did not declare a dividend. So now I just want to have just chat about the PGM market, and let me start with the reasons why platinum's been lower for the last couple of years. So the main ones are the destocking by industrial and auto users, which has reduced the demand for PGMs. And there's been a lot of Russian metals making their way into China, and that's disrupted the traditional supply chains. Then there is a bit of weaker demand of traditional ICE vehicles as battery electric vehicles continue to grow. And then finally, the final one is speculative trading and negative investor sentiment, which has amplified the disconnect between the physical market and spot market. So that's why they've been depressed for a while. But you can see in this graph that there has been a little uptick of late. And one of the reasons for the sudden increase is that on the supply side, forecasts are coming down. And that's driven by producers who are cutting production to save on costs. In addition to this, we've got the start of the cutting cycle, and that should result in a weaker US dollar. Low interest rates and a weaker dollar should increase the demand for PGMs. And we've previously shown that there's a much stronger relationship between platinum and the US dollar than gold and the US dollar. So that's an inverse relationship. And then, so those are the two main reasons of the latest uptick. And then a bit of an older story is the hybrid vehicle demand has been much stronger than expected, and battery electric vehicle demand has been much lower than expected. And as a result of this, there's many plans by the auto manufacturers to scale back on their BEV plans in favor of hybrid vehicles. So this just shows you the relative commodity prices. You can see that I've got in here platinum, rhodium, and palladium, which have outperformed most, or let me say iron ore and copper. Gold's been edging up slowly, but for once the PGM metals are starting to show some kind of outperformance. And yeah, this is translating into the PGM producers doing fairly well over the last month or so. So Implats is up about 35%. Sibanye is up 10%. Implats is the lagger. They're up about 2 to 4% month to date. But there's a big overhang with Implats because of the recent dropping from the top 40 index and also the divestiture from Anglo American. And then let me just finish off with our valuation. We've got about an intrinsic value of about 90 Rand a share. We've made a slight adjustment since our last report. We've got a new year. We do this on a 5-year basis, so we've got a new year in the forecast. And then we've got a modestly increasing platinum, palladium, and rhodium assumption from current levels. We are positive on the short to medium term platinum prices, and for those reasons, we are currently holding Implats. Now I'll hand over to Sean for the technicals, and then we can go into Q&A.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, you can see the charts there of Implats. This is until yesterday's close. Again, like I do every week, is it's trading above its moving averages. So it's far above its 20, 50-day and 200-day moving averages. You can also see their long-term trend is still bullish. In the medium term, I'll call it medium term, the trend has been sideways for almost 5 months, moving between the lowest support at about the 57 Rand level, with the upper resistance, call it resistance zone, between 105 and 116. In the short term, the share price, as Matt said just now, has had a good little run this month, has rallied strongly off that support around about that 70 Rand level, and at the moment is testing that lower level of that resistance zone. I see at the moment it's trading at 103 Rand. So yeah, it's just at the bottom of that call it resistance zone. At the bottom there, you can see the MACD indicator. It's also confirming the bullish price action. It's trading in overbought territory and above its trigger line. There's no clear bearish signals yet. The way I see it, we could expect some profit taking maybe soon, pulling back from that resistance zone. And as Matt said, our intrinsic value is at 89. I've got it there. So it's trading at a premium to its intrinsic value at the moment. But we still have a hold recommendation on the share. So that's how I see the technicals. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks very much. Yeah, that looks like Impala's firmly back into that sideways channel. I think the US are going to have to cut rates more aggressively for quite some time, and that'll weaken the US dollar and will definitely push the PGM prices higher, as Matt has alluded early in his presentation. I'm going to hop straight over into the chat quickly. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Dino says, are those massive impairments recoupable in terms of GOP? Should the PGM prices recover sufficiently, Matt?
Yeah, so I think there should be, there should be, they can reverse that in the future, I suppose. These companies are required to do, record their assets at fair value, and that's based on future expected cash flow. So if there is a reversal in the PGM prices, those assets will be a lot more, and then they could reverse that. I think they'd have to increase quite significantly though before that happens.
Okay. Hope that answers.
But yeah, that could be a positive catalyst, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. Clive says thanks for the great presentation, Matt and Sean. I don't see any other questions. There we go. Is Impala now the second largest producer of PGMs after Implats? James says.
I think it's either between Implats or Implats, but definitely between those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Righty. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, to summarize, I think Matt said it. I mean, the guys have been struggling. The prices have been ticking up lately. That's definitely supported the price. From a technical point of view, it's still in no man's land, I guess. But 116 is probably a good level to dump some, and then back in the 70 zone, good place to buy again. So it's actually quite tradable if you look at it back to April. Over the period, it's been hitting that support level and just bouncing off it with relentless repetition. So that's quite lekker. Dennis says, what platinum stocks do you have at a buy recommendation?
Yeah, so we've got none at a buy. We've got Sibanye and Implats. We hold both of those in our portfolio. I think Sibanye's more of a diversified player now that they are going into some green metals, and they've got some gold exposure. Implats has got is basically just a PGM player, and then Implats is they also just PGMs, but they are the they're the lowest cost producer out of the main PGM producers, but there's this big overhang with Implats, with the divestiture from Anglo American. So there's a big overhang on that price, and that's why it's not really moving much.
Richard saying, is Sibanye not the biggest producer of PGMs?
I don't think so. I think it's between Implats and Amplats, but I can get back to you on that one.
See. Right. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Any last for the last, guys? Okay, Richard says, where's the link for tomorrow's webinar? I see there were quite a couple of people who came in late, so let me update you quickly. We're going to have a webinar tomorrow speaking about unit trusts. But we're talking about the SA Equity Fund with one of the portfolio managers who manages that fund. And some of the questions that I'm going to be asking him will be around the construction of his portfolio and how he picks stocks. And I think it may help some of the retail clients to also think about the way that they structure their portfolios. And I thought it would be a good idea to invite you guys who attend this call on a Thursday to also join us for tomorrow. So I'm going to pop it into the chat now. But remember now that you don't have access to the chat after the call's ended. So I would click on that link now and just open it up in your browser so that you can go and register for that event tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock if you possibly could attend. Yeah, I don't see any other questions, Matt. Thank you for your insights. Thank you, Sean, for your insights on the technical side. We look forward to hosting you next week. I won't be here for the next 2 weeks, so Vaughn's going to be hosting. It'll be Vaughan, Matt, and Sean next week with Naspers. I'm not sure what the week after that is, but definitely Matt and Vaughan next week with Naspers. So we look forward to hosting you next week, Thursday, and then I'll see those guys who join us tomorrow for the funds webinar at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you have a lucky Thursday. Cheers.